So today I'm going to show how you can use Pear Deck with Google Slides to create an interactive slide presentation. And the first thing you're going to need to do is to go into Google Slides like you would and start a presentation. So I've already put in the title slide using Pear Deck with Google Slides to create an interactive slide presentation. The first thing you'll do then is you have your content in mind and you're going to create another slide like you usually would. Of creating my slide there. And then I'm going to use as our content this for this presentation culture, since that's what we worked on last week. And I'm going to start with a question to the children. And I want this first question to be interactive. So I'm going to go to the Pear Deck, and I do that by going to add-ons at the top of the screen here. And when I click add-ons, it says Pear Deck for Google Slides add-on. If that's not there, then you could go to Get Add-ons right here to explore it. Or if that didn't work, and you could search Pear Deck there. If that doesn't work, you could also just Google Pear Deck and then download it. And then if none of those work, then you'll want to contact Eric Johnson. I had to contact Eric Johnson. Mine did show up here under add-ons, but then when I would open it up, it would say that it wasn't whitelisted for installation by our administrator. So I got Eric Johnson to allow it to be downloaded. So I'm going to open up the Pear Deck app here, and it takes a moment. So it pops up over there, and there's a lot of different choices. You can ask questions. You can look at the template library. You'll want to look at some of those ahead of time before you do your lesson, and so I've already looked through those. So I'm going to start with one of the templates for the beginning of a lesson, and I'm going to take this one right here, and it says, so I selected it. Draw or type two things you already know about today's topic, and you can make that more personalized. So I'm going to do, I go open a room here. Oops. Last week, you studied culture. Okay. So that's all I have to do, and then it's in my slides. All right. So now I'm going to go on to my next slide. And I don't have to make every single one a Pear Deck slide. I can make it, yeah, I mean, I can have some of them be regular slides and some of them Pear Deck slides. In fact, you probably wouldn't want everyone to be Pear Deck because then every single one of your slides would be interactive. So I'm going to do another one. I'm going to make this next one interactive as well. So I'm going to, I'm trying again to get them enthusiastic. So I'm going to go back into add-ons and Pear Deck and open it up again. And I'm going to ask them if they like projects, because I want to kind of get them enthusiastic about the fact that they get to do a project. So I'm going to say, yes, I love projects. I put this in before, so there it is. Okay, I only want two choices, so I'm going to get rid of that, and I'm going to update my slide. And it says to add a question. So I'm going to X out of here for a minute because I can't see how big it is. Okay. I'm going to say, all right, and I can play around with how I want this to look, of course, I want it however I want it justified, etc. Okay, and this is again how the slide will look. When they do the slide, it's going to allow them to actually vote, and then it's going to go real time onto your screen, and it won't show their names or anything, but it will show how many kids voted yes and how many kids voted no. And of course, they can vote no, and then you kind of have to laugh at yourself, but whatnot. So you continue doing just like this, and I'm actually now going to X out of this one and bring up the one, my finished one, so that you get the idea of what it looks like, but that I don't have to go through every single one. So this is the actual one that I did. So my first question was just like you saw. I actually did a thumbs up, thumbs down for the project one instead of the voting. I actually think that the voting one's kind of cooler. And then I did it for my next slide. It was not a Pear Deck slide. It was the regular slide. And then I did another Pear Deck slide. This one was a web slide. So again, if you go to add-ons, Pear Deck, I'll just show you how I did this one. One of the choices right here is website. And so if you use that, it'll put a website down in the corner here, and on their slide, they're gonna be able to click the website. I did another interactive one. Which country do you think you're gonna be able to choose to research? Then I did a regular slide, another Pear Deck one, regular slide, another Pear Deck one, regular slide, and then, nope, and then a Pear Deck slide, okay? And anyway, you can see how that goes back and forth. Now, the next step of this is to start your presentation. So if you're in front of the classroom, of course, they would see your screen right here on the big screen, on the overhead. And then on theirs, on their computers, they'd see, well, I'll show you in a moment what they'll see. But if you're doing it via Zoom, it's a little bit more tricky because they have to kind of minimize their screen so they can see both, but you kind of get the idea of it. So to begin your presentation, you just get back into the Pear Deck app, and then you say start lesson. And I'm going to do the instructor paced activity. Typically, you're going to do that unless you're doing this on their own. If they're doing it on their own, then they get to write things in and such, but you're not going to see their answers in live time. So pretty much it's you're going to use this one. Okay, and it gives you a code just like it would if you were in Kahoot. So I'm going to pretend now I'm a student. All right, and I'm going to open up another screen here. And the student goes to joinpd.com, peardeck.com. So I'm going to do joinpd.com. I'm going to go there, and it asks me to enter a code. So again, I'm pretending to be the student now and the teacher at the same time. Okay. And you can, it always comes up with this while we're waiting for things to get started. How are you feeling today? Or you can skip it there. Mine looks like this. Just like in Kahoot, it tells you how many students are connected. And then when you want to start it, you're going to start it. I'm going to start now because there's only me. I start the class. And our screens are going to look the same. So this is my screen, and this is the child's screen. All right, it looks very similar. So I would read this. If I was in front of the class, I'd read it. Or if I was on Zoom, I could also read it to them. So they'd be looking at their screen, listening to me. And then I'm going to go on to the next screen. And I say to the children, last week you studied culture, draw or type two things. But now here's the child's screen. They actually are able to draw it, so, or type it. So I'm not a great artist. I'm just going to do this real quick. But I learned that culture has food. How can I draw food? This is my birthday cake. Can't you tell? Huh? And then I also learned that, oh, culture is definitely people, right? That's not a circle. Pencil. There we go. Look at that person. Okay. All right. And then, so this is what the child's doing, right? This is their screen. You can give them as much time as you want or as little time as you want. And again, if you were in front of the class doing face-to-face work, then you would show this on the big screen for the children, but on Zoom it's going to be a little bit smaller. Anyway, in my classroom now, it allows me to show their responses. So here I go to show responses, and there it comes up on the screen. Okay, so if you had like 20 children in your class, you could flip through them all and show them. And of course, it doesn't show their name. So there's no one saying, oh my gosh, Miss Baroni can't draw or anything like that. Okay, so now I'm ready to go to my next screen. And I flip to the next screen. This week, we're going to be doing a project. Let's take a vote. Do you like doing projects? I can't do anything on my screen, but here's the children's. They actually can vote. So it says drag the icon. So I'm going to vote. Yeah, I like them. And sure enough, if I'm on my screen, here's my presenting screen. I can show the responses. And you can see right here, there's a bullet on the green. If there are 10 children, it might have, 9 in the green and 1 in the red. And so, of course, you can show the children that, yay, it looks like all of you are excited about doing a project, yay. All right, I'll just show a couple more here. I think you kind of get the idea. So now I'm going to go on to my next one. So this is not a interactive slide. That's not, okay, this one is. So click the bottom right hand of the slide. So I'm going to go to my student one, and this is what it looks like. And when they click this right here, the alphabetical list of the countries, let's see if it will work. There we go. It gives an alphabetical list of all the countries in the world. And so I'm going to allow them to browse through that for a moment or two. All right. And when I'm ready, I'll go to the next slide because there's no responses to show there. Yep. Okay. And this is another interactive slide. So the children, you're going to see which country, and they're going to answer which one. So if I'm the child, maybe I'm going to say I'd like to research India. And again, here's my presentation slide, and I can show responses and India. If there are 20 children, each of theirs would show up. And then you also can really quickly, let's say a child put Michigan. Well, you won't know who wrote it, but you can quickly correct them. Michigan is a state, children, not a country. And they can then, without embarrassment, fix theirs. So you just keep going through it like that, and it basically allows the children to interact with you, be a little bit more engaged both with distance learning presentations and with face-to-face presentations. And you can also see how, I've kind of used it a little bit, not flippantly, but not particularly seriously for this one. But you can see how you could also do this with discussions where the children write like a response, and then maybe in groups, you look at the responses they put on the overhead, and you discuss which ones are valid. You could use it in math, and if they put their answer, and you can tell that some of them are correct and some of them aren't, and without embarrassing or singling out anybody, again, you get in groups and discuss which ones are correct and which ones aren't, and how they knew. So it's got a lot of different possibilities. So thank you. And also, if you'd like to know how to use Screencastify, I would also be happy to talk about that. Bye now.